You feel enlivened? Yeah. So would you breathe with me, please? Taking a deep breath. And release. And again. And release. And one more time. Thank you. Thank you. So, today's going to be a little bit unusual because, as you heard, we've got our annual meeting that's going to be after the service today. And we hold an annual meeting for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we have to, as a registered charity of Canada, like we have to hold it, right? Yeah. And we need to elect members to the Board of Trustees because, we need to do that. It also allows us to review the successes of the past year and to talk about where we're going. So that's also a good reason to come. And it gives us an opportunity to really acknowledge and thank the people who have been in service to the center over this past year. And you know what? We have a lot of people. Because here's the thing about running a not-for-profit here, a not-for-profit spiritual center, is that with a very few exceptions, this center functions by volunteers. Absolutely. I get to do the fun stuff. Ethel has to do the hard stuff. And the rest of you fill in the gaps to make this place the awesome place that it is. And I suspect that you do it not just because it's the right thing to do necessarily, but you do it because it's part of your spiritual practice. You do it because it's a way of giving back to life. And when I talk about life, I talk about life with a capital L, the divine life. It is a way to give back. So there is a Sanskrit word called seva, S-E-V-A. It's not an abbreviation. I used to think it was. It's actually a Sanskrit word that basically means selfless service to God. And it is an actual bona fide spiritual practice in many of the Eastern faith traditions. And it is one of the simplest and, yes, most profound and life-changing ways that we can put what we are learning, this spiritual commitment that we are learning, and actually put it into action. So seva is asking, how may I serve? How can I make a difference? What is mine to do here? What is needed? That is seva. Selfless service. And that has a much different connotation than doing volunteer work out of a sense of obligation because you want to look good or because it's something that you think that you're supposed to do and help the needy that are less fortunate. When we give in a consciousness of seva, of selfless service, not only are we helping other people, but we are deepening our connection to Spirit. Are you with me? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, often referred to Spirit or God. He had many, many different names for the all and everything, but he sometimes called it the divine givingness. The divine givingness. And here's what he said. That life is an eternal givingness, the offering of the cosmic self to the joy of its own fulfillment. You and I are part of this joy, and we find fulfillment only as this joy passes through us to others. Everything moves in circles. We short-circuit our own good when we refuse to pass it on. We short-circuit, we put up a dam if we are not giving what we are also receiving. Energetically, financially, with love, with everything is a circulation. And we short-circuit our own good when we don't give it away. So I want you to think about this. We all know what it feels like to give and feel good about giving, right? There's that flush, that ooh, that felt good, right? That felt good. It's a sense of being connected. It's a sense of being part of something greater. And now we know why that's true, because when we give of ourselves in a selfless way, we are emulating the universe. We are being our fullest and divine self. We are being the greatest essence of the divine that we can be. Because spiritual practice is all about experiencing the presence of the divine in the fullest way. Yes? Isn't that why we do our meditation and we do our prayer and we do our yoga and we walk in nature and we journal and all that other stuff, so that we can feel closer to the divine? Yes? Are you guys out there? Okay, let's take a deep breath. So selfless service is just another tool to put in our toolbox so that it can allow us to feel closer to our divine essence. So I'd like you to think for just a little bit about moments when you are in service to life. Now, we sometimes think that, okay, I'm doing my volunteer work and it has to be formal in order to count. I have to have my name on a list, and then it's important. But I want you to think about the ways that you truly give to life. How do you truly give to life? How do you give divine service that may look a little something different than what I'm talking about? Because divine service can be done anytime, anywhere. For instance, how many of you have elderly parents that you spend time with? Yeah. How many of you drive a carpool for school? Not quite as many. Okay. How many of you see a piece of trash on the ground and pick it up and throw it away? How many of you recycle? How many of you compost? Okay, yeah. How many of you simply smile at somebody in a grocery store? Yeah. Anytime we do a conscious act of kindness, we are practicing seva. We are practicing givingness. Now, you may be sitting there and thinking, well, of course I spend time with my parents. You know, I love them. It's what I'm supposed to do. Or I have to drive the carpool. It's part of my obligation as a parent. Or I smile at people, but that doesn't really qualify as service, does it? Well, it does if you decide it does. So let me explain to you what I mean by this, because life is all about choice, right? So we are always at choice as to how we are going to feel when we do something. So if we're just going through and doing something out of an obligation because it's the right thing to do, but we feel kind of resentful about it, then it isn't really selfless service. It's an obligation. But if we do something that is truly a service to life, and remember, I'm talking about a capital L, life. Anytime we are serving life, we are being in selfless service. Anything that is life-affirming, that is loving, that helps someone with something is a form of seva, selfless service. I love Lucille. I love Lucy. I love Lucy. She did the meditation this morning, wonderful meditation, and she used this quote, but she it's attributed to two different people, either Khalil Gibran or Rabindranath Tagore, and she decided to say it was Gibran because it was easier to say. I know, I looked it up and I was like, it could be either one. So Rabindranath Tagore said, or maybe Khalil Gibran, we're not sure, I slept and I dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. Didn't matter who says it, huh? It's a good one. It's a good one. So, a funny thing happened to me on the way to giving this talk today. I had it all planned out. I had it all worked out. Everything's great. And then I opened Facebook this morning. And there was something in Facebook that was so perfect for what I'm talking about today. At 6 o'clock this morning, I was reworking my talk so that I could tell this story. What I do for you? It was selfless service. Could have been sleeping. So we have some of our, one of our members, we haven't seen him for quite a while. His name is J.B. Groves. You guys know J.B. He's a wonderful guy, and he's a wonderful writer. And he works a night shift at a treatment center. This is what he wrote last night on Facebook. Because and it's in the country. At the worst of my trip, I no longer had any real idea where the edge of the highway was. I'd been inching along using the rumble strips to gauge where I was, as I could not see past the front of the van. My hazards were on, and I was praying for any indication of the road's edge so I could pull well enough off as to not pose a danger to other drivers, where the shoulders weren't so steep that I could get myself out and on my way again once the worst of the storm had passed. Those headlights with flashing hazards appeared behind me, and I wasn't sure if they could see me, if it was a semi or a car. So I was flashing my headlights in addition to my hazards, and my prayer quickly shifted to, if they hit me, please God, make sure no one is injured. To my relief, they rolled up beside me, and through the sleet, snow, and wind, they shouted, "Our farm's just up there. Follow the lights of the car right behind us." I could barely make out the second car, also with its hazards flashing, even though it was only 2 or 3 car lengths away. I'm pretty sure the lead car was navigating by memory, as the visibility only got worse as we inched along. I'm so grateful for the great young couple who by 1 o'clock a.m. had 6 strangers rescued from the highway, sleeping on their floor, couches, and air mattresses. They ran out of blankets, so all 6 stray dogs came in handy. I'm here, I'm safe among friends, masquerading as strangers. Now you know why I changed things up. Sir Wilfred T. Grenfell said, "The service we render to others is really the rent we pay for our room on this earth. It is obvious that man is himself a traveler, that the purpose of this world is not to have and to hold, but to give and serve. There can be no other meaning." So you may be sitting there thinking, well, I'm only one person. How much difference can I really make? How much difference I'll do my share, but how much difference? Well, we all know that we're connected, right? We talk sometimes about Indra's net, another thing you stole from me. We talk about Indra's net, that we are all interconnected, and each one of us represents a gem on Indra's net. This is in Indian lore, East Indian lore, Hindu lore, and we're all the net. And when something happens on one side of the net, then it kind of shifts and around, and it affects everybody else. So we are all connected. So when we do something that is in service to others, no matter how small, how slight, we are affecting the rest of the world. When we do something selflessly, we're not only shifting our own consciousness, but we're also shifting the consciousness of everyone else, because we're connected. For instance, have you ever heard the story of a woman by the name of Agnes Bojahiu from Macedonia? You might know her by another name, Mother Teresa. All this tiny woman wanted was to serve God. It's all. She's tiny. I saw a picture with Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton's no Amazon, right? Mother Teresa came up to about here on her. She's tiny. All she wanted to do was to serve God. So she entered her order at 18 years old and went to teach school in India. But soon after that, she discovered that what she really was needed in a far more necessary way. So she got permission to leave her order and to go serve the poorest of the poor in Calcutta, in the worst possible conditions that we can even imagine. And here's what's interesting about Mother Teresa. Even though she was doing this completely selfless service simply to help people, I mean in the absolute slums of slums of slums, word about her charity and what she was doing got out. People started talking about her. And she started winning humanitarian awards, and she won the Nobel Peace Prize. And she took all the money that she received from all of these awards and she funneled it back into her schools and the orphanages. By the time of her death in 1997, that's over 20 years ago, I hadn't realized that. Her death in 1997, her order, called the Sisters of the Missionaries of Charity, had grown to over 4,000 members, with 697 foundations serving 131 countries of the world. You see, her selfless acts not only made a difference to the people she was helping one-on-one, but it had a huge impact on the consciousness of the world. Her example inspired millions of people to action. And she had a difference even with world and religious leaders. She met with popes. She met with presidents. She met with dictators and talked about what was important to her. And it made a difference in the world. So I found two really nice quotes from Mother Teresa. I found a bunch of them, but the ones that fit with this. It is not how much we do, but how much love we put in the doing. It is not how much we give, but how much love we put in the giving. It's not what we do, but how much love we put into it. Isn't that wonderful? And her second quote was, "To God there is nothing small. The moment we have given it to God, it becomes infinite." The moment we make our action, our service as an act of love, as an act of spirit, to make a difference in the world, to give to funnel, to channel that divine givingness. Once we hand it over to the divine, it becomes infinite, and that makes an impact. So with that in mind, I know we're going to be doing this at the AGM, but I also know that not everybody can be here today. And so there are two people that I want to acknowledge today during our regular service so that they can get the acknowledgement that they deserve. Both of them have given themselves in such selfless service as board members of our Board of Trustees. Now, you all may not even know who all the board members are, because they kind of do their work behind the scenes. But what you may not know is that it's much more than just doing a meeting a month to decide how we're going to spend money. They chair committees and they do work behind the scenes, and you may not even know that. So the first one that I want to acknowledge is Kenda Swanson. And Kenda started her Save a Career. Yeah, come up here, darling. Kenda started her Save a Career, this honest goodness truth, when we were still meeting at SATE, and she was part of the setup and breakdown committee. honest to goodness, this little beautiful thing is hauling whatever needed to be hauled at that time. Since then, she served on the board for 3 years. She is a fun day school teacher. She's a volunteer coordinator. She's a house manager. She's a dedicated Science of Mind student, and now she is a practitioner student. Kenda is transitioning off the board after 3 years so she can focus on her practitioner training, plus a few other life-changing activities such as having a baby and getting married. Wait. I'm not done yet. So we give a gift to our exiting board members because they really do so much work. And I didn't quite know what Kenda might like for a gift. So I contacted her sister and said, so, we're going to give a gift certificate or a gift card of some sort to Kenda. What do you think? What spa do you think she would like? And her sister said to me, let me just have your hand. She says, Kenda loves to have her nails done. And told me the name of the place where she has her nails done. Actually went and picked up the gift card for me and mailed it to me. So you have to say thank you to Anna. So here, my dear, is a gift card to Nail It Salon. Okay, you can stay up here, or you can do whatever you want. Okay, all right. So the next person I want to acknowledge is our board president, Graham Clark. Graham started his sacred service, his seva, here at the center, being the volunteer coordinator along with his wife, Sylvia. He was part of the selection committee that hired me. So if you got a complaint, take it to him. He's been on the board for 6 years. In that time, he has served as chair of the marketing committee when we reached over 10,000 fans on our Facebook page. It means 10,000 people are exposed to our center. They just didn't want to drive in the snow. That was it. 3 years ago, Graham stepped up to be the board president. And it was at him at the helm that we went through our very exciting yet stressful time where we sold our building on 1st Street Northwest, commonly known as the Kelly Block building. He found this place driving around, just looking for a place that might work. So he found, negotiated, and purchased this building. He was here during the planning of the required renovations along with Joe Colacerda and Ron Hahn and Ethel Newton and myself. He dealt with a contractor that flaked out on us. He handled a few other challenges that came with something of this magnitude of buying a building and turning a warehouse into a spiritual center. And he always has a smile on his face and is kind-hearted. Graham has termed out on his board, so he's transitioning off to make room for other people in leadership. But that doesn't mean he's finished serving. Oh, no. We will find other ways of utilizing his talent. So, Graham, would you please come forward? So I'm very sneaky because not only did I get a hold of Anna to find out what Kenda would like, I got a hold of Sylvia to find out what Graham might like. And so this, my dear, is a gift card for you to the Nordic Spa at Kananaskis, at the hotel in Kananaskis. And yeah, you'll have a good time with that. Yeah. So come to the AGM because we're going to talk about even more stuff. Okay, now get off my stage. If you have been in service to this center in any manner for the past year, now I'm just going to go through all of them. Minister, practitioner, would you please stand? And hold your applause. Minister and practitioner, would you please stand? Musicians, would you stand? That's you guys. That's you guys. Discover team, would you please stand? Ever been a greeter, greeting people to come in? Ever been an usher? That means collecting the funds. Ever worked a casino for us? Made coffee? Cleaned up in any way? Did any sort of clean up in any way to the center? Youth teachers, fun day teachers. Any fun day teachers? Who am I forgetting? Oh, board members, of course. Board members. We just did the casino. Yeah. Our sound people back there, okay? Okay. The piggy people, the change for change people. Yes, indeed. What am I forgetting? Help me here. Special event. Okay. If you have ever done, first I want to do this. I want you to look around and see what it takes to run this center. Okay, give them a hand. We are so blessed. And I just love you all. And that's all I have to say about that. And so it is. So I'm really happy we're having this song. Please welcome Amy Bishop and our band again.